as long as I'm governor of this great state, Texas will be a land for the Indian community, and we will continue to celebrate Diwali here in the great state of Texas.
Time to vote this guy out, because I can certainly tell you that Texans are not happy about the recent cultural shift that's been going on, as certain areas like Frisco have seen a tripling of the Indian population since 2010. It says Asian, but they mean Indian. If you've been to Frisco, you can easily see it's not flooded with Japanese people or Koreans. By the way, that was Governor Greg Abbott, who seems to be intent on selling out Texas to newcomers with a completely different culture. And as I said, the native Texas population is not too happy about the Americans' last ideology that's been coming from our political representatives.
Frisco is full of Indian people on visas whose allegiance is to motherland India instead of America. There is massive H-1B abuse and fraud in Frisco, Texas, and none of you care. And it's not just you, it's every elected official in Texas. And who gets screwed over? The Texas residents. Literally nothing has gotten better in our state over the last 5 years. Our cities are unrecognizable and filled with foreigners on visas. Our property taxes are the highest they've ever been. Every single one of you is an embarrassment to our country.
I would also like to note that contrary to popular belief, Indians do not speak English. I find that this point is often missing from this discourse, and while a few of them have good English, in general, the language proficiency of the average newcomer tends to be very low. God forbid you have problems with your internet and you have to explain technical issues to a guy with an accent who clearly doesn't understand you. And if you don't believe me, then listen to this political ad.
लेकिन बहुत सालों से हमारी देसी voices politics में fully represent नहीं हुई हैं। मेरा नाम जय वांगनकर है और मैं जून 2 को कांग्रेस के लिए election लड़ रहा हूँ।
What in the hell? How are you allowed to vote in America if you don't speak English? If this guy wants to run for office while speaking Indian, then he can do that in India. Oh, and of course, almost all of his endorsements are Indian, and also, what a shock, he wants to get rid of immigration enforcement. This is not a politician, this is a foreign invader catering to other foreigners, not Americans. And I think it's about time that Americans have really had enough of this shit. It's been nearly 40 years of everyone, left and right politically, saying that we don't want endless newcomers coming into our country. And well, speaking of legal issues, recently a jury ordered Meta and YouTube to pay millions for their role in designing and promoting addictive platforms. They knew their apps could contribute to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, but did not share those risks while prioritizing profits. If you or your child spent years growing up on social media and experienced serious mental health struggles, you should hear this. Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold these platforms accountable for the harm they caused. You can use the link in my description or scan the QR code to take a short quiz to see if you qualify for a case. You may be entitled to a potential recovery of over $1,000. Alright, so of course this is not to say that every immigrant or every Indian disrespects American culture or is a burden on the system. A lot of immigrants are very respectful contributors to America, and as I've said in multiple videos, I am a fan of experiencing different cultures and learning how other groups of people operate. However, what I'm not a fan of is being forced to uptake a culture that's not my own, because born and raised Americans are quickly becoming a minority in my local environment. Personally, when it comes to all the newcomers flooding into America, legal or not, I really don't see any difference between an army invading the US and forcing their values on us while they take our resources, and tons of people crossing the border replacing American values as they wave the flag of their country of origin and consume welfare.
Motherland India or Texas, USA? You laughed at that one.
No, obviously Motherland India.
Obviously.
Obviously Motherland India.
Hyderabad or Frisco, Texas more?
Hyderabad, of course.
Hyderabad, of course.
To clarify, 70% of H-1B visas are granted to Indians. H-1Bs are temporary work visas. They're supposed to be guests who work here for a little bit and then they go back to India. But because of fraud and stupid birthright citizenship, they can have kids while they're on their guest visas, and now those kids are American citizens. This is one of the many reasons why birthright citizenship to children of non-citizens should be abolished immediately. Anchor babies aren't culturally American because they aren't raised by parents with American values, which is causing a cultural shift. And reasons like this one in the next clip are why I don't want the culture of Texas or America as a whole to be switched to India.
Jugaad, translated as hack or workaround. Effectively, the principle that being able to get around the rules and take advantage of the system is virtuous. A famous parable of Jugaad was when the British Raj attempted to solve a cobra problem in Indian settlements. In short, Indians were being killed en masse by a massive infestation of cobras. So the British created a program. Anyone who killed a cobra and brought the officials their heads would be rewarded. But those who possessed Jugad saw an opportunity. They began to breed cobras, raise them, and then killed them for a reward. When the British saw how the system was being exploited, they ended the rewards. By the time the program ended, the cobra population had greatly increased, leading to an even bigger cobra problem.
This is just one of the reasons why mass immigration from India, and much of the third world by the way, is a bad idea. Basically what this means is that people who have this mentality cannot be trusted with honor systems or be allowed into polite society because they will steal from the group to benefit themselves.
This is how I save hundreds of bucks every month in food and groceries. All these groceries for this week I got free. Most of the universities and colleges में food banks होते हैं, which are run by trusts, churches या फिर non-profit organizations. You can take as much as you want. सारे basic fruits and vegetables, bread, sauces, pastas, and canned vegetables.
You hear that? It's not even supplementary. He gets all of his food from the food bank. So, cool. We have a foreigner here who we've allowed into our country on a student visa who is teaching other foreigners the money-saving life hack of taking food that was donated to help needy Americans. This future highly skilled engineer at Tesla is trying to teach other future H-1B Tesla engineers to become welfare flunkies. How does this not result in instant deportation? It's simple. If you can't support yourself, we deport you. So my big problem with the Indian culture that's being imported into America against the wishes of Americans is the culture of extreme self-enrichment at the sacrifice of the group, and their belief that it's virtuous to game the system, which is why they can't figure out simple problems like sanitation because everyone just dumps their trash everywhere.
They say India is a very polarizing place. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think I'm leaning towards hating it right now. This is disgusting. It's the most polluted country I've ever been in, hands down, not even close. This makes me want to hug a tree and become an environmentalist and hire Greta Thunberg or whatever the f her name is.
It's not that difficult. They don't even have to invent anything new. They just have to do what smart countries are already doing, but they can't do that because their cultural values don't encourage it. Americans don't want those values here. Stuff like this reminds me that PewDiePie's most popular video is him making fun of India. So it's not just me and people on Twitter saying this stuff. The rate that India randomly catches strays is insane.
I feel the same with Indian though. Like I have to destroy the toilets after I get Indian. So I kind of get it.
I've always accepted that Indian does that.
India's never beating the contaminated food allegations. Remember when Sam Pepper drank something from an Indian guy and almost died? But these swipes even go across cultures. Westerners aren't the only ones saying these things. If you ask Japanese people, they've noticed too. Here's a video from interviewing Japan asking Japanese people what their impressions are of men from certain countries. Here's what these women say about India.
国の名前を読み上げると、その国に対してイケメンが多いというイメージがあれば、イケメンでお答えください。そういうイメージがない国なら、なしでお答えください。インド。インド。インド。インドなしで。インドに対してどういうイメージありますか？なんか。
See, it's not just Americans talking about the smell. Oh, and as much as Indians are culturally disrespectful in America, they also disrespect Japan's culture by having a dance party on the bullet train. For those of you who have not been to Japan, this is incredibly disrespectful. They literally tell you on every train in multiple languages to be quiet so people can work or go to sleep. You can actually see people through the door turning their heads in a what the fuck gesture. So personally, I see disrespect from newcomers as a consistent problem that multiple countries are having, and in my experience, the vast majority of the modern newcomers have zero intent on assimilating to American values. Tons of them take from our welfare system. In fact, according to this graph, immigrants by percentage use more welfare than natural-born Americans. This, of course, is ignoring the hundreds of millions of dollars being stolen by immigrants that's been reported by Nick Shirley so far. And last, they seem to be hell-bent on creating their own insular communities, which is basically saying, yeah, we want to do India, but with all of America's resources.
Why are you here in Frisco?
I had to. It feels like I'm still in my hometown.
Really?
Everybody from my hometown here.
Wow. So you moved all the way from Hyderabad, thousands of miles away.
To Hyderabad.
To Hyderabad in Texas.
Again, I see no difference between shit like this and an invading army stealing resources and changing the culture by force.
This is Savannah Hernandez in Frisco, Texas, and I have been hearing from quite a few Texans about the changing culture and demographic up in North Texas, so I wanted to come and check it out myself. And behind me is the Hanuman Temple, which was created here in Frisco surrounding the deity Hanuman. Now, I wanted to come to this area because, as you guys can see behind me, this is a residential area, and you have this very large, very intricate temple that is in this location where you quite frankly would not expect it.
I've actually read some of the Indian mythology, so I know who Hanuman is. The reason I know that character is because I'm interested in other cultures, so when I say this, let me be clear. I don't think that people should be legally punished for practicing a certain religion. That's why we have the First Amendment in America. However, I think it would be incredibly stupid to legally import so many people that it changes the religious foundation of the country. Well, legally it might be a stretch considering all the fraud.
Honestly, what makes America the greatest country on the planet is the fact that it's built off of biblical values and doctrine. And some people, wherever they come from, do not uphold that same cultural value system.
Right, let's not forget that tons of the cool things that you see today, like the abolishment of slavery, were done and created by predominantly white Christian nations. By the way, all of this is not to say that an Indian can never immigrate legally to America or practice their faith here, but let's not forget the types of people who made America what it is. We should not be importing so many people that it changes the culture of America, especially when these days it seems like most of the newcomers are just here to take for themselves and give nothing back.
America is becoming more diverse. America is celebrating our diversity, and our diversity is our strength. It is really important that we celebrate our diversity because it is the diversity that has made this America as great a country as it is.
How would this guy know? He's a foreigner who was born and raised in India. What a shock. He also wants to get rid of immigration enforcement. Diversity is a weakness. Well, their definition of diversity is, diversity did not make America great. Christian Europeans or culturally Christian Europeans did. Christian Europeans ended slavery. Christian Europeans died for the right to free speech. Christian Europeans are the reason why you have things like voting rights and economic mobility. I'm saying this because when dipshit politicians like this guy say diversity, it's actually a dog whistle for racism and prejudice towards white people and Christians. And also diversity is a dog whistle for multiculturalism, which is a system designed to bleed out the values that made America great. Multiculturalism is cancer and no country should accept it. You cannot have a thriving country by having like 18 different cultures operating within it. Though really, these days, it just means third world migrants. Look how multicultural Canada is now. Everyone's just Indian and Muslim, very diverse. Diversity of cultures within a country is trash. You either assimilate to the dominant culture and learn the language, or you get deported. And let me be clear on this as well. People should be allowed to speak foreign languages in America. We have free speech here. However, if Americans have to start becoming bilingual just to get a job here because there are so many foreigners who don't speak English or refuse to learn it, then it's time to close the borders and start sending people home. If this guy wants to say diversity is our strength so he can help infinite foreigners illegally migrate to America by getting rid of border security, then again, I must say that this is why people who are foreign-born should not be allowed to hold office, because they have a great track record of prioritizing their homeland over Americans. And when it comes to Texas, there shouldn't be political signs everywhere advertising campaigns of people who are born and grew up in foreign countries.
You see people worshiping multiple deities, and the one that did stick out to me was the area where people were going to pray for blessings of health and also for work visas.
Great, you can ask Shiva or Ganesha for a work visa. I like how their gods are welfare gods. And speaking of H-1B visas, everyone knows what's going on here. We aren't seeking high-quality doctors and engineers from India because America just doesn't have enough talent and because Indians are so much smarter. Anyone who's been on Twitter and seen the numerous videos there are of preventable Indian deaths knows this isn't true. I'm not sure if I want my engineers coming from a place where their biggest predator is modern infrastructure. Imagine the wits of the guy who steps on the track after the train honks its horn. So we all know why the H-1B work visa stuff is going on. It's because much like big farms and construction companies want to use cheap and low-quality labor from foreign illegals, big tech companies also want to use cheap labor from India. Is it a mystery why the Microsoft CEO becomes Indian and then suddenly tons of Americans get laid off and Indians are hired to replace them? I mean, you want to call us racist.
Hi, my name is Ankita. I'm here to address the hateful and racist folks who feel confident and protected enough to come up here on the mic consistently across multiple meetings in Frisco, Plano, and Irving to disparage immigrants. People are watching these meetings from all over the world, and these racist remarks are going viral on social media. People are also observing the absence of an intervention. People come up here and disparage Indian immigrants with no consequences. I'm calling on city council members to make it known that racism isn't tolerated in this room or outside of this room.
I mean, if she wants free speech restrictions and preferential treatment for Indians, then she should go back to India. But since we're getting competitive here, what's more racist? Texans saying, hey, maybe we should put a halt on immigration so people have time to assimilate, or an Indian CEO firing a bunch of Microsoft employees to hire his own in-group? Because that seems to be pretty damn racist to me, and that's exactly why we don't want these types of people in our country. They're incredibly racist and ethnocentric, and also, American workers should not have to compete with the entire world in the job market. Americans should not be cheated out of a house because some guy in India who is used to sleeping in a mud hut will pretend to be an engineer for a fraction of the money.
Fraud has ballooned. So then you have like religious workers being invited on an H-1B. You have accountants being invited on an H-1B. These are not specialized skills. Colleges and universities create these wonderful, best and brightest computer scientists and computer programmers and engineers. After a 4-year college degree, we go through rigorous training. That holistic training that happens in the United States far supersedes what you find amongst the H-1B cloud.
Yeah, I've noticed that software keeps getting shittier and shittier, so I wonder why that happened. And where are all the leftist workers' rights living wage advocates on this? Curious how they're either silent or defending the H-1Bs. Why must we constantly lower the American standard of living to cater to foreigners who are very frequently not in this country legally? Because tons of these H-1B visas are fraudulent.
So we got a tip in our email inbox about a man here on an H-1B visa, supposed to be working some IT tech job, who is actually running a food truck company under his wife's name. Our tip said that this is like the basic H-1B, H-4 visa scam. The H-1B worker comes in, he brings his H-4 dependent, his wife. These dependents who are here on H-4 visas are getting employment authorization. So the wife typically is getting authorization to work, opening up a bunch of businesses, and then the husband secretly runs them, even though it is illegal. It is against the rules. H-1B visa workers are not allowed to work anywhere other than the place that is sponsoring them. Hey, Naveen. Hi, do you own this business?
No, my wife owns it.
Your wife owns it. Where's your wife?
She's at home.
She's at home? Well, what does she do for the business if you're working here and she's at home?
I'm not working here. I'm trying to help her set up something.
Well, I just watched you take someone's order.
There are many people like this guy, and Twitter has been exposing them constantly. Also this.
And out of all the 50,000 plus visa applications, how many of those were legitimate?
There were, easily between 70 to 80%. That was my denial rate.
You should watch Tyler's video on this and the numerous work sites that he went to that were either people's houses or empty buildings, just like the Nick Shirley video on people scamming hospice care in California out of hundreds of millions of dollars. Meanwhile, Americans can't afford a place to live or food or medical insurance because insurance doubled in the past year. Gee, I wonder if that's related to the hospice scams. But you guys do realize that stuff like this is a massive reason why you have a bunch of TikTok videos of people in their cars talking about how they can't get jobs or afford anything. Stuff like this graph that went viral on Twitter should be infuriating. We're all tired of politicians choosing other people over Americans.
What we need is leaders willing to fight for the American people, not for corporations, not for the idea of America, but for the American people. You have to fight not for Ben Shapiro's idea of the country of America, the notion of America as this collection of ideas. That's not what it is. It's Americans. You're not fighting for a paragraph. You're not fighting for a set of ideas, man. It's the American people who need your help.
Right. Japan is for the Japanese, Italy is for Italians, and America is for Americans. An American is a person who was born and raised here by other American citizens. It is not an H-1B work visa, and we should stop prioritizing foreigners over the native population of this country.
We live on stolen land, and that land was stolen from indigenous people. That is the legacy of this country.
Really? So then you better leave this country because you don't want to be the benefactor of thieves, do you? Last I checked, you're not a Native American. Oh, right, I forgot. Moral consistency doesn't matter here because this is just a tactic to silence people who want to protect America's borders.
First of all, nobody's illegal on stolen land. Canada belongs to native people and their land was stolen.
Oh, so they play this same bullshit game in Canada too. It's like word for word the same doctrine. It's like they're admitting it's an invasion. That being the case, I'm not choosing foreign invaders who don't respect me over my own country's people. You can take that foreign accent right back to where you came from.
Reality is the hundreds of thousands of kids who are graduating with massive college debt, hundreds of job applications. They're being looked over for people who are not us. Apple and Google might win, but America will be worse.
Right. Why are these jobs not going to people who live here? Again, their excuse is, well, we just don't have enough talent. You don't have enough talent? You're training Indians here on F1 student visas and then transitioning them to H-1B work visas.
I came here on F1, but then I converted to H1.
So you came on F1 and then graduated to H1?
Yeah.
How hard was that process?
It was cool, actually.
Most people who come here on an F1 have the intention to get an H1?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think that's fraudulent?
No.
No.
Because it is valid that you can convert from H1 to H1. That is the reason most of the people come here.
But isn't F1 just for people who are coming here to study and not to work?
Yes.
Do you think it's a bit of a fraud to come here to study and then end up...
Go back too.
Did you go back before you got the H1?
No.
Instead of training foreigners, how about you train Americans? How about we cancel the vast majority of these dumbass liberal arts programs like gender studies that just put people in debt and make college only about fields that are actually needed? What happened to company apprenticeships? Companies like Northrop used to train you to be an engineer.
We built the jobs. You're telling the people who built the jobs we can't do the jobs. So it almost sounds like scam.
And also, if you're going to claim that we need workers from India because there aren't enough Americans, which is a lie, but pretending that it's not a lie, you get this loop where the solution creates more of the problem, because if I have to worry about Microsoft replacing me with an Indian, then I'm not going to train for years to become an engineer. So why aren't they doing obvious stuff like training Americans? Well, that's easy. It's because they want cheap labor.
The idea that these tech guys want to bring in exceptional people is just not true. They're looking to hire basically slaves who can't leave their company without leaving the country, who will work for 50%.
This is basically indentured servitude that puts employees at a massive power disadvantage because if you ask for things like raises, they can just deport you. They also are a lot less likely to job hop, which is often how engineers and programmers actually get paid what they're worth. Wait, are H-1Bs even allowed to change jobs? And again, with this in mind, it is really shocking to see the woke left caping for mass immigration when they have done nothing but scream about living wages and employers paying their fair share. Wait to continuously stand in the way of employee bargaining power so you can virtue signal with your stupid luxury beliefs on immigration. But like I've said in many videos, workers' rights and border security are a bipartisan issue that most people agree on. The only ones who disagree are the foreigners who are benefiting at the expense of Americans, and a handful of mentally insane liberal arts majors who have less economic value than the local waitress. Oh, and politicians who are trying to get votes. The constant suggestion that we need to flood in millions of foreigners to solve our problems when there are plenty of simple solutions is ridiculous, and it's crazy how often they use the exact same excuses for open borders in seemingly every country to try to make up for how massively unpopular that these policies are with the general public. In Japan, they say they need open borders because of the birthing crisis. They say that in America too, and look here. Germany, they say that they need more immigrants because of low birth rates. Wow, how did birth rates become so low in the West? It's almost like that's the natural result of decades of stupid activists promoting antinatalism, with messages like saying that women having children is not valuable, or calling stay-at-home mothers a bunch of dumb losers, and saying that a woman is only valuable if she does what men do. If she works in a chem lab, she's strong and empowered. If she provides a great home environment for her kids instead of throwing them in daycare, well then she's a loser who is being exploited by her husband. These types of feminist messages have destroyed Western culture and has made people think it's uncool to have children. Worse yet, they often relate kids to being parasites upon their parents' lives or the planet. This anti-natalist message is quite possibly one of the most evil propaganda campaigns going on in modern history. How many people have been told that their life is over when they have kids? How many future parents have been told that they are selfish people who are destroying the environment if they want a family? But you know what's really helping reverse that propaganda? Video games. Recently, a game called Pragmata has been trending for its positive framing of parenthood between a male lead and a robot girl who hacks stuff for you.
She is so cute, and I don't even like kids, but I like her.
Hugh, thanks for talking to me all the time.
Did she give me a gift?
Ta-da!
Is this supposed to be when we first boarded the tram?
Uh-huh. I drew it. It's for you.
Oh, what do you mean? I love it. It's so
Half bad, kiddo.
But she hung it up! She hung it up! So adorable!
Aw, your little robot daughter draws you AI slop. Isn't that so sweet?
Hugh.
She's so cute.
Hugh, Diana, Hugh, Diana, Hugh, Diana, Hugh, Diana.
Ramadan. So good.
So as much as media of the past seems to focus on the worst parts of having children, like having to change diapers, this game Pragmata seems to be having a very positive effect on people by showing everyone the awesome parts of being a parent. I've played this game for a few hours now, and I kid you not, one of the rewards for progressing further in the story and getting collectibles is that you get to gift the robot girl toys to play with, and they really seem to have gotten behaviors of actual children correct. It very much feels like this game was made by actual parents trying to encourage people to have kids, which seems like a good solution to me. My only complaint so far is that it's kind of an easy game.
Yeah, this sucks. I can't even get out of the way because I'm hacking the wrong dudes, and I want to use this and I can't.
Well, maybe it's not easy for some people, but as much as people want to cite economic issues for why they don't have kids, and I do agree that is important, it's very important for multiple reasons. However, I don't think that money alone will fix the problem because we also need to bring back the value of having children. That is something that is culturally driven, and it's driven by communities that are pro-family and get along with each other, which is why I don't like multiculturalism because it consistently breeds hostile environments where people don't share similar values or even speak the same language. Speaking of money, more importantly, multiculturalism bleeds out the American cultural values that cause people to say that it's not okay for employers to take advantage of them, and losing these values has been plummeting salaries and our standard of living in the US, which is probably why these big companies want other cultural ideas in America. They want people who have values that make them easy to exploit. So really all of this is downstream of the culture, which is why we should be gatekeeping America to preserve the values that made this country great and successful. Anyway, thanks for watching, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.